Only one engine was developed for the LS 400, brought to almost perfection. A V-shaped 8-cylinder 4.0-liter gasoline engine with 4 valves per cylinder and 2 camshafts on each head provided excellent dynamics with moderate appetite, 7.1 to 100 km/h, and even in urban conditions consumed no more than 15 liters of fuel. After restyling in 1997, thanks to minor modifications, the engine power was increased by 30 horsepower, with up to 294 horsepower. Many motors have already passed more than 400,000 kilometers, and there is no need for major repairs. And in general, any intervention is rarely needed. For example, due to the use of hydraulic compensators, adjustment of thermal gaps in the valve drive mechanism is not required. Spark plugs must be replaced every 20,000 kilometers, and the timing belt every 100,000 kilometers run. The last operation, taking into account the replacement of 2 bypass rollers, will cost almost $300. By the way, you need to carefully monitor the timely replacement of the coolant and the cleanliness of the radiator. Otherwise, the gentle water pump won't last long, and a new unit costs about $240. You don't really have to rely on finding a used part, since Lexus is a rare exotic at showdowns. When choosing a car, it will be useful to look at the presence of oil leaks. The fact is that Lexus power units are famous for their ultra-precise fitting of the mating surfaces of parts, so leaks may indicate unskilled repairs or overheating, followed by a violation of the geometry of the landing surface of the blockhead. The Lexus LS 400 was produced exclusively in rear-wheel drive, but, despite the rear-wheel drive, the car remains stable even in icy conditions thanks to the presence of motion stabilization and traction control systems. For cars manufactured before 1997, only a 4-speed automatic transmission, with manual shifting, was provided. Later, it was replaced by a 5-speed adaptive automatic, the switching algorithm of which could change depending on the driving style. These units, despite the active driving style of many LS 400 owners, served for a long time, however, subject to an oil change every 40,000 kilometers. The rear axle is also very hardy, in which the oil is also changed every 40,000 kilometers. Car service specialists did not recall cases of repair of this unit. The driveline is not inferior to these units in reliability, in which the crosspieces must be replaced in rare cases. The suspension of the car is quite complicated, multi-link front and rear. It copes well with all road irregularities and allows you to prescribe turns at fairly high speeds. In 1997, an adaptive pneumatic rear suspension began to be installed on the car, which is not only able to maintain a constant ground clearance, but can also change stiffness depending on driving style. However, you should be careful with her. Operation in the conditions of salty winters can significantly reduce the resource of an expensive system, so it is better to give preference to the usual spring suspension. The multi-link design does not affect the running gear resource. Such components as shock absorbers, wheel bearings, stabilizer struts served for a long time, more than 200,000 kilometers. On many machines they have not yet been changed, so after purchase, significant investments in the bulkhead of the chassis may be required. This is especially true of the rear suspension, in which all structural elements are concentrated around the trunnion for the sake of handling. If, for example, it becomes necessary to replace one of the levers, the assembly changes as an assembly. Levers, wheel bearings, silent blocks, etc. Taking into account the considerable prices for spare parts for the chassis, replacing the trunnion with all the elements can cost $1,000. This is a significant reason for bargaining. There are no complaints about the steering mechanism equipped with hydraulic booster. The steering rack and tie rods are capable of moving more than 200,000 kilometers. The brake system only requires replacement of pads every 40,000 kilometers and brake discs every 120,000 kilometers. Lexus LS 400 is a worthy choice for those who are fed up with the dominance of Mercedes on our roads. The car is practically in no way inferior to its German competitor. Of course, there are far fewer opportunities for Lexus maintenance, but this is more than offset by the fact that it is not so often necessary to seek help from specialists. Indeed, in terms of reliability, as evidenced by the results of a number of studies, the modern Lexus LS 430 is higher than the Mercedes S-Class. True, it is necessary to check the future purchase for all the theft bases, since both in Ukraine and in the USA Lexus is often stolen in many cars with a criminal past.